Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging headfirst into, well, a really captivating story, but also a pretty dark and mysterious one. We're talking about the dramatic fall of the Knights Templar, those legendary warrior monks. Our mission here is to unpack the sources, look at the whole arc, their incredible rise, that immense power they held, and then the torture, the betrayal, and that legendary fall. And right at the center is Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master. His end in the fire really ignited one of history's most enduring curses.
It really is remarkable, isn't it, how this specific piece of history just keeps resonating centuries later. It's this fascinating intersection of faith, raw power, and politics. Understanding how those forces tangled up is, I think, key to the Templars' unique story, and ultimately, why it ended so violently.
Okay, so to get why they became so powerful, and maybe so dangerous, we need to start at the beginning. Picture it. It's after the First Crusade, maybe around 1119. The Holy Land is supposedly liberated, but the roads, especially to Jerusalem, they were incredibly dangerous. Christian pilgrims were getting robbed, kidnapped, even killed. Just chaos, really.
Exactly. And that's where this group steps in. Hugues de Payen and a few other devout knights. They form this brotherhood, their goal, protecting those travelers. But what made them different right away was this unique identity. They were warrior monks, took the usual vows, poverty, chastity, obedience, but they also carried swords, fought battles. Their base was at the ruins of Solomon's temple, supposedly. That's where the name comes from, Knights Templar. And then, crucially, they get the Pope's blessing in 1129. Pretty quickly, they become the church's, favorite sons.
But it wasn't just about fighting, was it? What's often surprising and what really boosted them is they were also brilliant bankers, pioneers even.
Absolutely. Brilliant is the right word. It wasn't just charity collection. They developed this financial system. Honestly, revolutionary for the time. Think letters of credit, essentially. Pilgrims deposit money back in Europe, safe and sound, then withdraw it in the Holy Land. No need to carry huge sums of cash on those dangerous roads. This network, it's stretched across continents. And yet, filled the Templar coffers very, very quickly. So by the late 13th century, they're sitting on vast wealth. Land, castles, assets all over Christendom. They didn't just seem untouchable. For a while, they were.
Right, untouchable. That's the key word. This huge global empire they built lasted only until the Crusades ended. That big turning point, it hits in 1291. The fall of Acre, the last big Christian stronghold to Muslim forces. And that, for all practical purposes, meant the Crusades were pretty much over.
And that creates this, an existential problem for the Templars, doesn't it? Their main purpose just vanished. Suddenly, there's no holy war to fight, no holy land to actively defend. You've got this incredibly powerful, rich military order with nothing specific to do on that front.
And that kind of power, especially combined with that much wealth, tends to make rulers nervous, very nervous. And maybe no one was more nervous or saw more opportunity than King Philip V of France. Philip the Fair, they called him. Tall, handsome, apparently. But the crucial thing, he was deeply in debt. And guess who he owed a lot of money to?
The Templars, exactly. But it wasn't just about the money, though that was certainly, a huge factor. Philip's deeper motive, I think, was control, pure and simple. The Templars were independent. Their loyalty was to the Pope, not the King of France. And like you said, wealthy beyond imagination. They were a direct challenge to Philip's power, his vision of a strong, centralized France under his control.
So, okay, they're powerful, independent. Philip owes them money and wants more control. How does he go from being annoyed and indebted to plotting their total destruction?
He realized he couldn't just, beat them in a fight or outmaneuver them politically in the usual way. They were too entrenched. So he opted for utter destruction. He needed to tear down not just their organization, but their reputation, their very legitimacy in everyone's eyes, the public's, the churches.
Which sets the stage for, one of the most infamous dates in history, really. Friday, October 13th, 1307, at dawn. That single morning, royal agents spread out all across France. Their orders: arrest every single Templar they could find, including the Grand Master himself, Jacques de Molay. Imagine the shock. It just rippled across Europe.
And the charges. They were absolutely devastating. Designed specifically to shock and horrify. We're talking heresy, blasphemy, spitting on the cross, worshiping idols, devil worship. It was a list crafted to destroy them utterly, tapping into the deepest fears of the time. And, it worked. The public was appalled.
And then came the torture. Brutal, systematic torture. Under that kind of agony, many Templars confessed. They admitted to denying Christ during initiation, worshiping some kind of mysterious severed head, maybe called Baphomet. It's hard to fathom what they went through.
The church, Pope Clement V, was hesitant at first. They had to know these confessions were likely coerced, right? suspect at least. But Philip, he applied immense pressure. Threats of schism, undermining the papacy itself, he wouldn't back down. Eventually, Clement gave in. He issued a papal bull that's a formal decree ordering all Christian monarchs to arrest the Templars in their lands. And that was really the hammer blow. That's when the Templar Empire started to truly crumble, everywhere. Accusation by accusation, kingdom by kingdom.
The years after that were just bleak. De Molay, the other leaders, imprisoned, interrogated, more torture, relentless.
And de Molay's story within that is particularly, poignant. He did confess initially, almost certainly to stop the pain, you'd have to assume. But later, and this took incredible courage, he recanted, stood up and said those confessions were lies, forced out of broken men. Which really makes you think, doesn't it, about truth extracted under duress, how fragile it is against absolute power.
That's such a critical point. It really shows how narratives can be twisted, completely manufactured for political gain. And even though de Molay recanted bravely, the damage was just too widespread. The Templars were branded heretics. Their image was shattered. But by 1312, it's official. The Pope dissolves the order, just like that. Gone.
And their property, all that immense wealth we talked about, it was transferred mostly to the Hospitallers, another military order. But, and this goes back to Philip's motives, you can be sure King Philip kept a very, very nice chump for the French crown. He got his money back and then some, and he eliminated a rival power.
Which brings us to the final agonizing act. March 18th, 1314, Paris. Jacques de Molay and his comrade, Geoffroy de Charnay, they're brought before church officials, offered a deal supposedly merciful, confess again publicly, and you get life imprisonment instead of death, a last chance. But after everything they'd endured, years of suffering, they refused. Standing right there before Notre Dame Cathedral, they yelled out, declared the Templars innocent, denounced their own forced confessions as lies, an incredible moment of defiance.
Philip IV was reportedly furious, absolutely enraged by this public challenge to his authority, to the whole narrative he'd built. So that same day, without even bothering to consult the church officials again, he orders them both burned at the stake. Immediately.
And as the flames climbed higher, the legend kicks in. De Molay supposedly cried out, "Summon King Philip and Pope Clement to face God's judgment within 1 year."
And here's where it gets, eerie. Pope Clement, dead within a month. King Philip, gone before the year was out.
Coincidence. Or maybe the Templar curse. What does that timing make you think? Of course, the story doesn't just stop with the flames, does it? Instantly, legends started swirling. Fueled by the speed of their fall, the mystery of it all, people started whispering maybe the Templars got away, escaped with their legendary treasure.
Oh, absolutely. That's when you get the stories of the vanished fleet from La Rochelle, just sailed off into legend, supposedly, never seen again. And the persistent idea that survivors fled, maybe to Scotland, perhaps Switzerland, planting the seeds for future secret societies. People really believed hidden knowledge, hidden power survived.
And that leads directly to one of the biggest conspiracy theories still around today, the idea that the Freemasons somehow grew out of Templar remnants. It has just enough mystery, just enough historical overlap to keep people speculating, doesn't it? Keeps those theorists busy.
It really does. And it's not just the secret societies. Jacques de Molay himself becomes this powerful symbol, a martyr. His name gets invoked centuries later. Voltaire mentions him. Writers, revolutionaries. They saw him as this symbol of defiance against tyranny, against unjust power.
It's amazing his legacy echoes even now. There's actually a youth organization today, De Molay International, named for him. So when we look back at the Templars, it's more than just history, isn't it? It's a story that keeps inspiring, keeps intriguing, taps into that fascination with secrets and power.
Exactly. The whole saga, the power, the betrayal, the mystery, it resonates because the themes are timeless. Faith, money, political ambition colliding, and maybe most importantly, how easily truth can be manipulated by those in power, how narratives get shaped.
So wait, the fall of the Knights Templar, it wasn't just the end of an order. It was this huge collision of faith, power, politics, and kind of a brutal reminder, isn't it? How fast today's heroes can become tomorrow's heretics. Jacques de Molay died in the fire, yes, but his story absolutely burned its way into legend. Maybe the real enduring legacy isn't just their historical footprint, but how their story keeps fueling our fascination with secret knowledge, hidden power, and that tantalizing idea that maybe some truths, once they're ignited like that, can never really be put out. Leaves you wondering, what else is lurking just beneath the surface of history? What questions does this deep dive leave you pondering?